everything that you have done. We thank you for keeping us alive up to this time. Father, we ask you to bless us during this literature lesson. May we understand everything that teacher teaches, and may we not have any network disturbances. In just the name that we lived and prayed. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Wow, thank you so much, Cynthia, for that wonderful prayer. So I welcome all of you to today's lesson. With us, we have teacher Teddy, we have teacher Prosi, and teacher Deborah will also join us shortly. So teacher Prosi and teacher Teddy, you're most welcome. Okay. So students, as we all know, we're supposed to start a new text this term. Before that, we want to first introduce ourselves to what a play is. I know that you've not, from the time you joined us, you've not done any play. But today we are going to introduce ourselves what a play is, so that by next week when we start on the book, we know what we are reading and we know what to expect. Maybe in simple, maybe before I go so far, maybe let me just ask what a play is. What is a play? What do you think a play is? Teacher Teddy or teacher Prosi, please help me with the hands.
Okay. Hola, Kazina.
Can you hear me?
We can hear you. Just try to speak a bit louder.
Okay, so a play is like a piece of drama or something performed in theater, and it consists of dialogue between two or more people.
Okay, thank you so much. Any other person? At the same time, please, you can say it as you also type your answers in the chat, so that those maybe who are not able to get some words can also maybe can read it from the chat. Maybe another person.
Mercy Walea.
A play is literature for the theater that dramatizes events through the performance of dialogue and stage direction.
Wow. Do we have any okay, like more hands, because we can see more hands up.
Nasu na Leila.
A play is a story written to be acted out. I think.
Okay, thank you so much, Leila. Okay, so from what all of you have said, because I think Paula had already answered, unless Paula, you have something else to add. Okay, so I'm happy that we know what a play is, so we are not going to have much trouble during this lesson because we already have an idea of what a play is. And so, as most of you have said, that a play is work written, or it's a literary work written for the theater. Who can tell us what a theater is? Who can tell us what a theater is?
Yes, Paula.
Yes, a theater is like a space where literary work or art is performed.
Wow, thank you so much, Paula. So it's a place where a literary work is performed. It can be a play, it can be poetry, it can be even songs and other things. Thank you so much. So we are told that it's a literary work written for theater, and it dramatizes events. Please take note of this, that with a play is majorly meant for drama. So it dramatizes events through the performance of dialogue and stage directions and other things that we are going to look at. So that is what a play is. So you should have in mind that it's majorly written for theater, and it dramatizes events through performance. So when we see a play, it's actually meant for performance. You cannot just write a play and keep it there only for reading and all that. It's meant to be performed. And most plays that we keep interacting with have already been performed. Others are being performed outside the country, others are even being performed in this country and all that. So our plays are majorly meant to be performed. Maybe it will lead me to another question. What do we call a person who writes plays? What do we call a person who writes plays?
Katushabe Laura.
A playwright.
Ah, thank you so much, Laura. So we call the person who writes plays a playwright. Unlike the novel, what do we call one who writes the novel? What do we call one who writes the novel?
An author.
Yeah, the author.
It's an author. Yeah, thank you so much. But please make sure that you first wait to be picked. We have to be organized. You wait to be picked before giving an answer. So the person who writes the novel is an author. Thank you. And what about a poem? What about a poem? We are just reminding ourselves.
Helen Nyakukira.
A poet.
A poet. Thank you so much, Pelan. So that is it. So we have different names that we call different people that write different things. So don't confuse a playwright, don't confuse an author and a poet. Those are very different people. So as we continue, we've seen what a play is, and we've seen that the person who writes a play is called a playwright. Okay. So maybe let me ask from because we all know the books that we told you to buy and read. Who can just quickly remind us very fast what are the books or the texts that we asked you to buy?
The Return of Gofu and Grief Child.
Dav, make sure that you put your hand up, because you can see we have people that have put their hands up, but for you, you're not. So okay,
Sorry,
we have the
teacher.
return of Gofu and Grief Child. And so for this, we are going to start with the return of Gofu. So let me quickly just ask, who is the playwright? Who is the playwright?
Ndagire Shona.
Francis D. Imbuka.
Wow, thank you so much, Shona. So it is Francis D. Imbuga, that is the playwright. So anytime you're answering this question, class, never forget the playwright, because the moment you give the playwright, you give the play a different playwright, that one is actually, it shows that you don't know what you're doing. So before you answer a question on maybe a certain text that you've been given, make sure that you know the person who is writing that particular text. So don't forget that this is by Francis D. Imbuga. And we know the title is of the return of Gofu. But we are going to look at it more when next week. But for today, we are going to just look at it. We are going to have a general overview of it using basing on the fact that it's a play. Okay. So maybe the other thing is that let me ask, what are the elements of plays? What are the elements of plays? We are going to give the elements of a play as we focus on the return of Gofu. Maybe let's have some hands up. What are the elements? When you talk about the elements, what is contained in a play? Or what are the characteristics of a play? What are the features of a play?
Praise to Samira.
A play has scenes.
And when you look at I don't know, can you still hear me? Sorry, I had an interference. When you look at the play and when you compare the play and even the novel, Recipe for Disaster, you realize that there's something different. So what are the elements?
Teacher Christine, Praise has mentioned sins, that a play has sins. Teacher Christine?
Yes, Teacher Teddy. Teacher Teddy, yes, I didn't get that very well.
Sorry. Praise has mentioned that a play has scenes.
Themes.
Scenes.
Okay.
S-C-E-N-E-S.
Oh, scenes. Okay, thank you so much, Praise. Please tell us what are scenes? What are scenes? But before that, please let's make sure that we have the return of Gofu with us, because Praise is going to take us to any page in the book that we see scenes. So please make sure that we have the text near you so that we're able to move together. Yes, Praise. Praise, we can't hear you.
I don't have the book.
Praise, did you buy the book?
No, not yet.
Okay, so girls, this is something that we told you immediately after we went for the break, the 2-week break. So we hope that everyone by now must be having the book. But the girls, with literature, you cannot pass literature if you don't have the text. The text is very important. You cannot only rely on the internet. The other things in the internet that you need a book to actually confirm whether they are true or not. And not everything in the internet is good for consumption. There are other people, because the people that write things, they post things to Google are people like us. I can also do a mistake. So if you have the text for you to actually confirm and to read for yourself and for you to build on your knowledge about the book you need the text. So please, I encourage you to buy the book. And if you're also there and you don't have the text, please make sure that you get the text before our next lesson. It's a request. That is if you don't want to be on the bad side. Okay, maybe we can have another person to tell us what a scene is and maybe to give us an illustration of a scene from the text.
Paula?
A scene in a piece of drama or a play is like a part where an action is performed. It's a
Paula, please be louder.
A scene is a part. It's like parts of a play, different parts of a play. Like a book has chapters, a play has scenes.
Okay, thank you, Paula. So you've said there are different parts of a play. Please, if you have the text, the return of Gofu, take us to one place where we see a scene.
So on the first page, it's on page 1, there is scene 1, and it says a messenger from beyond. The scene is an open air market. The audience comprises of sellers and buyers. It's a late afternoon. Strange angelic music as an old man, Fori, enters pushing a woman, Foriwa, in a wheelchair. The manner of their costumes should be suggestive of a spiritual world. Tori pushes the wheelchair to a convenient place and begins surveying the environment. After some time, he turns and addresses Foriwa.
Okay, thank you so much. So thank you so much, Paula, though you are not very clear. So please make sure that at least if you want to give an answer, you come closer to your microphone, just like I'm doing. So that's why you can hear me. I'm loud and clear. Maybe any other person that has a different meaning of a scene. Any other person, because Paula has Sola there.
Johanna, are you okay?
Yes. I think a theme is the reason the playwright wrote the play.
Johanna, we are looking at scene, not theme. Okay, let me type in the chat what we are looking at.
Parts of a play. Okay, sorry, I think I had gone off. I don't know, Teacher Teddy, I didn't get the last answer.
She gave us an answer, but she was looking at themes instead
Okay,
of scene. So we can get someone else.
okay.
Mutoni Esther is asking in the chat, is the scene similar to the setting? Over to
No,
you.
the scene is different. The scene is different from the setting. Though in the scene, of course, in the scene, we can get the setting, but it's different.
Okay, Karen Mwebaze.
I think a scene is a part of a film or a play in a book which the action happens in one place or it's one particular type.
Okay. Okay, thank you so much. I think Teacher Teddy, for now we can go with that. So I know. So class, if you respond, you can as well put your answers in the chat. In simple terms, a scene is a part of course dramatic work that is set that is set in the same place and in the same time, or at the same time. You can just say it is the stage. It is the stage. So when you look at the return of Gofu, when you look at even page 1, you have act 1 and scene 1, and here we have messengers from beyond. So when you look at the scene 1, these things are set in the same place and in the same time. They're happening at the same time, because when you read through, you realize that the events here are happening at the same time. And at the same time, you can say this is the stage, because all this is happening on the stage. Okay, and then we have that, maybe let's quickly say maybe what an act is before we go to the next thing, because a scene and an act is similarly related. So let's see what is an act. Let me ask that. An act.
Paula, are you answering the question?
No, miss, they're going to do elements of a play.
Paula, you need to speak louder. Don't make us sharpen our ears just to listen to you, please. Speak louder if you want us to hear.
Paula?
Yes, miss.
Are you saying something?
No.
Okay. Maybe Teacher Teddy, do we have any hands?
Not yet.
Okay, so as you still think about an act, when you look at the return of Gofu, we have act 1, scene 1, and then we have scene 2. When you move ahead, as you can see, I have my text here. I think we only have one scene in act 1, but when you go to act 2, we have scene 2, act 1 also. Sorry about that. We have scene 2. Then when you move ahead, you have act 1, scene 3. So I know when you see that, then we have act 2, scene 1. So when we have that, maybe a collection of scenes make an act. Like when you have different, like you have more than 1 or 2 scenes, it makes an act. That is why we are seeing that we have act 1 and then act 2. We have act 3, and then we have different scenes inside the act. You realize that at times you find that scene 1 has a different setting, or maybe the stage is different. And then when you go to scene 2, the stage is also another, it's a different stage. Today there might be maybe, like when you look at here, we are going to see that there's a scene, and we have the stage being the market, and then we have a scene, and we have the stage being a Mwami Muhando's consultation chamber. So we have different settings with different scenes or different stages. So here we can say that an act is a division of theoretical performance. What I mean is, like, when the theater is divided into different parts, that makes acts or an act. And that is why we can have Act 1, Act 2, Act 3, Act 4, and as many acts as possible. So it is just the division of the performances. So this book has been divided into different performances, but under every performance we have different settings or different stages. I don't know whether you get me very well. So we as I repeat that we have different performances here. An act is actually like a performance, but of course performed in the theater. And when it's talked up, when we see that, we have scene 1. Every performance has a different stage or a different scene. We can also realize that the same act, you can also go to another scene and find out that I've gone back to the first stage, or it can be a different stage. I hope that I'm being understood. And unless if you have a question, you can ask before we go any further. A question about the act and the scene, please ask before we leave you behind. Okay, so let's continue. So let's look at another element of a play. Anyone? Another element?
Karen Nimanya, Urano.
Teacher, I had a question about the acts and the scenes.
Can you ask?
The acts, the scenes are divided. Okay, the scenes are divided through the acts, right?
The act is divided into scenes.
So if Act 1 has like 2 scenes, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Okay, thank you, teacher.
Not okay. So Karen, it's not that all acts have the same scenes. You can find that at times even Act 1 might have even 5 scenes. So it depends on which play you're reading. So they're not constant.
Okay, thank you, teacher. I've understood.
Okay.
Zora Beijuka.
The plot.
Okay, thank you so much, Zora. Tell us what a plot is.
A plot is the arrangement of events on the stage.
Mm-hmm. How are the arrangements? How are the arrangements on the stage?
The arrangement of events, like which event happens first, and then it's followed by a specific event.
Thank you so much, Zora. So a plot is the arrangement of events in a chronological order. So I wanted you to mention that, but at least you had mentioned that from what happens first to what happens last, because you cannot bring something that happens last to the beginning of to start with it as you give your plot. So the plot has to have some chronology, like it should be in order. What events happen first, what follows after that, what happens, and then all that. And one thing that we should also remember is the plot must have cause and effect. So that is, if it has cause and effect, that is what a plot is. If it doesn't have that, that is not a plot, but that is, it can be maybe a story or something. It can be, that is maybe a story, but with the plot, you have to give us the cause and the effect of what you're telling us. So that is a plot. So it's true that the play must have plot, as well as the novel must also have the plot. Okay, let's go to another element. Any other element, class?
Namugasara.
Character.
Sarah, tell us about characters.
Characters are the agents of the plot, or the people who act in the scenes. Yes, that's the simplest explanation.
Okay, so these are the people who act in the play, or who take part in the play. Anyone else that wants to give us something about characters? Something about characters? You want to add something about characters? Okay.
Namuli, Nicole.
Lines.
Nicole, are you listening to the lesson? Are you answering what teacher has asked?
Yes, lines. They are words making up the dialogue of the play.
Okay, Nicole, please listen carefully. I'd asked, do we have anyone else that would love to add something about characters? If you'd love to
No,
add.
that's
Okay, so Nicole, pay attention. Okay.
okay. Be mentioned.
I didn't get what Nicole has said. Okay, so we have, okay, as I don't, was it Sarah? Had said the characters are the people that are taking part in the play. So class, we should note that characters are the central, characters are the central people to the plot of any play. And without characters, you cannot tell a story. So you must have characters to tell a story. It can be human characters, it can be animal characters. Yes. So you must have characters to tell a story. You cannot do without characters. And at times you realize that characters play a very big role in that. If you remove one character from the plot, okay, from the play or from a story, that story actually loses meaning. Or there's something that will happen. Like, for example, let me use which book that you're familiar with, because I know we did a voice of a dream. If you removed Nanfuka, let me use that one because I know you're familiar. If you removed Nanfuka from that novel, the story will be totally different, or there was something that was going to happen even before we are introduced to Nanfuka. So characters are very vital in a story, in that you cannot do away without the characters. And we know that with characters have very unique identities. Characters can never be the same. You'll find out that one character is maybe very hardworking, while the other one is very lazy. This one is very talkative, while the other one is very quiet. So characters have unique identities, or they are very different. They are different from each other. Let me say that. Though we can find some of them with the same identities. Okay, so that is what characters are. And I hope that as you still remember how we can tell character traits and all that. I know we are going to look at that, please, but those are things that you should go back and remind ourselves that we said we can tell the character traits of characters from their behavior, from their relationship with others, from what other people say about them, from what they do, and all that. So please, those are things that you need to go back and remind yourselves. Okay, Teacher Teddy, let's continue. Any other element of a play?
Maybe before I pick on someone else, whoever has given characteristic or element of plays, please type it in the chat. And then girls, when the teacher gives you a chance to ask a question, please ask. These things of getting into my inbox to say I did not understand the meaning of a scene, yet the teacher has asked you to ask and you haven't asked, they are not very good. So when you're given a chance to ask, please ask. Thank you, Teacher Christine. Yes, Nicole, go ahead.
Lines. Words making up the dialogue of the play.
I don't know, Nicole, your network is a bit bad.
Lines. Words making up the dialogue of the play.
Okay, lines, words making up the dialogue of a play. Thank you so much. So with the lines, Nicole, it's not something that we can actually really pay our attention to, because we know that we have lines in poetry, we have lines in a story, we have lines everywhere. So you cannot do away with lines. What we are looking at are those unique features that make up a play, those unique features that you cannot just find in poetry, or those unique features that you cannot find in the novel. That is what we are looking at. But lines is there, lines must be there, because even a passage, okay, sorry. When you look at poetry, it has lines. When you look at a passage, it has lines. When you look at the novel, it has lines, and also the play has lines. So it's not something that can actually really draw our attention. But for now, we are looking at those unique elements that are all that we only get. Okay, those unique elements that actually tell us that this is a play. But thank you so much. Yeah, we have lines. Any other thing?
Jovia Namuga.
Dialogue. Dialogue is the exchange of spoken words between characters in a play.
Okay. Jovia, come again. Dialogue is?
Dialogue is the exchange of spoken words between two or more characters in a play.
Okay. Thank you so much, Jovia. So we have actually dialogue as an element of plays. So we have, as Jovia had said, Jovia, please type that in the chat. So dialogue is actually the exchange of spoken words between one or more people. So just as well as character is very important in a play, dialogue is very important, because it actually draws our attention and informs us to what is happening on stage. Without the dialogue, we cannot know what is happening on stage. So unless people are able to speak, unless people are able to do different things on stage, for us to know that, so this thing is happening, or so this thing is happening in with the return of Gofu. So such a thing is happening. It's through dialogue. And also through dialogue, we know what's happening on stage, and we know who the characters are. We cannot know who the characters are without the dialogue. They have to say. You get? So we have to know that there is Mugofu. And for us to know that there is Mugofu, it's through dialogue. For us to know that, even when you just look at the first page, page 1, act 1, Tori here says, Toriwa, we have been here before, I think. So we already know that there's a Toriwa. So it's through dialogue that we're able to know that the characters are there, and this character is Tori, this character is Toriwa, or this character is Adonija, and all the other characters that we are going to look at. We are able to see that there is Sariku, there is Ntege, there is Danya, and all that, and it's all through dialogue. So we cannot do away with dialogue. And and through dialogue class, we are also able to know the relationship between these characters. We are able to know that Tori and Toriwa have a relationship. We will be able to know that that Mdanya, Mhando, Mtege have also a relationship. That is, if you read, I know maybe some of you have not met those characters, but it's through dialogue that you're able to know that. So, and we know that, as Jovia had said, that dialogue involves all the spoken parts of the play, and it takes conversations between characters. So through characters that we know that there's with the dialogue happens. Dialogue cannot just happen without the characters. Okay, so that is dialogue. Any other person to give us another element?
Hola.
Can you hear me better, Miss?
Yes.
An element of a play would be spectacle, and spectacle refers to the visual elements of a play or everything the audience sees as they watch the play. Examples would be special effects, props, costumes, and sets, etc., etc., etc.
Okay. Thank you so much, Paula. So it is just said there are different spectacles of what we can see on the stage. And I think it will still take us back to scenes, because scenes is actually what we see on stage. So it will still take us back to scenes. And those are, it's true. When we talk about a play, and we say that a play is meant to be dramatized, we have to see what is happening, because we know drama. Drama is for us to see what is happening. So it's true, Paula, but it will still take us back to the scenes, because it's with a scene you're able to see what is happening on the stage. Thank you so much, Paula, for that.
Jean Marie Wamala.
Teacher, another element could be aside. Hello?
Yes, we can hear you.
Aside is like a brief comment by a character addressing an audience.
Okay. Thank you so much. Was that Namara? Thank you so much, Namara. But I wouldn't want us to go into aside. Aside is more of, I think, an A-level thing. Teacher Teddy, what do you think?
We don't need asides right now. It's
Yeah.
higher level.
Yeah, at a higher level, you'll study the asides, but it's there, asides are there. Thank you so much for that research. We have asides, but not for now. Okay, any other?
Namuli, Nicole.
Climax, turning point or high point of a poem or story.
Okay, thank you so much. Yes, we have climax. We have climax also in the novel. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, thank you. The turning point, but for now, we really don't want to also focus so much on the climax.
It's practically like
climax is
falling
also a big-
action.
Okay, so thank you so much. But for now, we'll not focus so much on that. For now, we'll not focus so much on the climax. Thank you, but climax is also there. Thank you so much. Any other?
Teacher Christine?
Yes, teacher Teddy, can you hear me? Okay. Teacher Teddy, can you hear
Georgia,
me?
your hand is up. I think something has happened to Teacher Christine's internet. Please go ahead
But
and
teacher,
speak.
can you hear me right now?
We can hear you.
Okay, thank you.
Jovia.
Music is the use of sounds and rhythm in dialogue to complement the act being presented on stage.
Jovia, we didn't get that.
Music is the use of sounds or rhythm to complement the act being presented on stage.
Okay, so you're talking about music as an element of drama. Yeah, that's true. We have actually music. In most cases, drama. In most cases, when you even watch plays on the theater, like when you go to the theater and you're watching plays there, we always have some kind of music. Okay. I think any other person, but class form 2. I encourage all of us to participate, because so far we are seeing the usual hands. You get like the usual hands the usual people participating. What about some of us? Agnes, Aisha? We are so many. Janet, Benita, class, let's participate. We know these things, but you don't want to talk. You can even try and fail and you learn, but let's not just be there warming. You see, warming the desks, so you're just sitting there listening to what other people are saying, yet we can all participate. So let's all please participate. You can try and even fail, but it's not good to just keep quiet. Even if you know something, you're keeping quiet and you're like, Jovia is there, Paula is there, Rebecca is there, she's going to give the answers, yet we are all We are all there. Please let's learn to participate. The more you participate, is the more you learn. Okay. I hope we have new hands.
Not really. Tronila?
Teacher, is language part of an element of a play?
Yeah, language is in a play, but we cannot, it's not an outstanding element because language is something that is also everywhere. We can, even in literature, we have language, in poetry, we have language, in the novel, we have language. So it's there, but it's not, we are going to look at it when we go to maybe, when we go to the dramatic techniques. That's when we look at language.
Jean Marie, are you saying something?
Teacher, how about irony?
Irony is also there, but irony is also a dramatic technique. We are going to look at that when we read the book, but it's a dramatic technique. For now, we are just looking at elements, and elements are not the same as techniques. Okay.
Nawami, Rene?
Conflict.
Okay, conflict. Yeah, conflicts are always there, but it's not an outstanding element. S2s. Let me ask you, when you let's go to page 1. If you have a book with you, and then Tori says, Toriwa, we have been here before, I think. And then Toriwa, straining from the wheelchair. Here, no, never. What makes you think we have? What is that straining from the wheelchair? What do we call that? Haven't you seen that that is something that we don't see in novels? Or that is something that we don't see in play, in poetry? What is that, class? Who can tell us what that is? S2s, can you hear me? I might be talking to myself.
Yes.
We can hear
so
you.
what is that? What is that, S2s?
An action.
Yes, it's an action. Okay, an action. Okay, any other person? Even just the fact that we've seen that this scene is open, is an open. Yes, you can try.
It's a reaction to a statement.
A reaction to a statement.
Onomatopoeia.
Okay, so class, anyone else that would love to try? I think if you try that, I'll buy you a sweet. Okay, yes, go.
Miss, I had a question.
Yeah.
Does suspense count as an element of a play?
Suspense is a dramatic technique, and it's also from the other side, it's what makes the story. Or what? So that is suspense, but
Okay, what about rhythm? Miss.
Rhythm?
Yes, does rhythm count?
Paula, what's that?
Rhythm count?
Not really, not really.
Excuse me, teacher.
Yes?
I think it's stage direction.
Okay, So, Johanna, what are stage directions? Johanna has already gone off. Okay, so that is true. So class S2s, those are stage directions. And with that, why we are saying that stage directions is they're just telling us what is happening, but these things are not being said. Like, okay, they are not being let me say they're not spoken, but they function as directions to the actors or the directors and other people that are actually reading the play. So like now here, when you say straining from the wheelchair, you cannot, this person is just training, but is not speaking. So these are stage directions, and they direct. I don't know whether I should use the word direct. I don't know whether I should use direct, but they show us what is happening on stage. The other things that the other things that the characters will not say, but through the stage directions, we are able to know that so this character here is laughing generously. This character is yawning loudly. And we are able to see some of these. Like now when you see pointing at the audience, holding Toriwa's hand and looking at her, nodding his head. All these are stage directions. So with the stage directions, they actually they are okay. They, as they appear in the play, the main thing is they actually just they guide us. They guide us, the readers. They guide the directions of the characters or the actors on the stage. And that this is when we can even see some musical instruments. Like now when you go to page 9, as somebody was talking about music, we are seeing that lights dim as musical instruments establish the sadness of the moment. Soft singing voices accompany the musical instruments. So it's through the stage direction that we are able to see that we have some music. So I hope that is clear that with the stage direction, they simply guide the characters, they guide the readers to know what is actually happening. Those things that cannot be spoken or cannot be spoken by. Like now, somebody cannot speak laughing. Like when you laugh, you cannot speak laughing. You just laugh and somebody sees that you're laughing. So I hope that is clear. Maybe one last thing that we didn't mention because of time is we have setting also as an element of a play. And setting is simply where the action of the play takes place, and it can also be the time when the play is taking place. So, and when you look at when you look at where the action takes place, it can be a city, it can be a rural area, it can be in the sitting room, it can be in the bedroom. And then the time, it can be in the morning, it can be in the evening, it can be 9 p.m., it can be in the 90s, it could be maybe it could be maybe like 2018 or 2021. That is the time, because we know that with settings we have time setting and then a place setting. For now, those are the settings that we have. So maybe then the other thing is for us to know is that we have okay, I was just looking at what was in the chat. Okay, no, somebody was talking about imagery. No imagery, no. Yeah, imagery, no. And then somebody, yeah. So thank you so much, Teacher Teddy, for responding to those questions in the chat. So one thing is I wanted to also draw attention to is that we have different functions of plays, and maybe just to say that it's a form of entertainment. It could also be for us just to connect directly with the audience. It could be for us to maybe learn some lessons from it. Like those are they're all related to the functions of literature. If you remember the functions of literature. So, and then there's a way plays also shed light on the lives of human beings, on like what human beings are and how human beings really behave. It's through plays, because these are things that we read. They are meant to be performed, and when you see something being performed, you're like, oh, so this is how it's supposed to be. So this is how it's done. So we have so many functions of plays that you can go and recite that. During your free time or before our next lesson. We have like 4 minutes remaining. So we are going to take questions. If you have any question, please ask. Don't keep quiet, and next week you come when you don't know what a play is or where to start with when we read the Return of Gofu. Any question, class?
Yes, teacher.
Yes, okay, yes, yes.
Teacher, like, is there any specific place where we can get the books from?
Okay, anyways, it's so Anne, the books are in the bookshop. If you go to Aristoc, go to Gastro, you know all those bookshops. Those who are near Gayaza, you can also come to school. We have some copies with us.
Okay.
Angie?
Teacher, I just wanted to know whether the scenes in an act are all staged in one place.
No, they're not staged in one place. It can be a different place. That can be staged in different places. So maybe let me give you an example. Like when you look at even this same Return of Gofu, here we have the first time when you see it's in one. When you go to scene 2, we see that this is a shrine of peace, and it is Kadesa's shrine. So these are different places. Hope that answers your question. Any other question? Or maybe if teacher Teddy wants to add something, you can. Maybe teacher Prosi, you can add. If you have something to add, you can.
No, teacher,
Teacher,
I don't have
okay.
anything to add. Thank you very much.
Okay, teacher Prosi, do you have anything to add?
Yes, thank you, teacher Christine. The only thing I can. Hello?
Yes, teacher Prosi.
Yes, teacher Christine. Teacher Christine, the only thing I can tell the girls is to really pay attention and listen so that they don't miss out what the teacher is saying. They should pay attention while the teacher is talking so that they don't overuse the chat to ask. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, teacher Prosi and teacher Teddy, and thank you so much, Mr. Bato, for hosting us. So class, I'm going to organize something on the element of the play, and then we'll get it in Google Classroom, because I've seen some people had asked for it in the chat. You're going to find it in Google Classroom, and at the same time, you'll also have the recording to this lesson. So otherwise, thank you so much for attending, and thank you but next week, please, we want all of you to participate. We don't want only a few people. We don't want to only teach a few people. We want to teach the whole class. So otherwise, have a good weekend and see you next week.
Nice time, teacher.
Bye, teacher. Have a nice weekend.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Hey, what did we really pray? Okay, let's have somebody give us a closing prayer before we stop the recording. Okay, yes, Leila.
Let's have ourselves for a word of prayer. Lord Jesus Christ, one, thank you for this day, one, thank you for the gift of life, for the gift of education and teachers. Pray that whatever we have learned, we may remember it. Lord Jesus Christ, pray that you may go back and read through everything. And Lord Jesus Christ, pray that we may not forget. And Lord, please guide us through the rest of the lessons. In Jesus' name we have prayed. Amen.
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 Amen.